one of the very first moments. I mean, how quickly you guys and your teams and your artists pivoted to do a virtual version was extraordinary, was just mind-blowing. So I think for a lot of people, when watching the festival, experiencing the festival in that format, we're learning a lot about what this virtual space was and what time was. The small screen and the notion of that kind of distracted listening or viewing, the way that you could come in or come out, you'd go and make yourself breakfast and come back and listen in on something similar to what perhaps might be similar to a podcast, in a sense that sometimes, people put the headphones on and listen to a podcast or have it on their phone. And my partner is a huge listener to podcasts and such, and do other things at the same time. And there's a kind of distracted relationship to the art form. Did you find that as well, in terms of the kind of notion of the viewing of the screen, as opposed to, when you're in a seated place in a theater, where for the most part, the intention is sort of, the notion is that you're watching one point in the room, that's where the focus is, and concentration is everything. Don't eat cookies or don't eat candies. Quiet, listen, pay attention. And was there a sense of that perhaps you were proposing a new sense of viewership as well?
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like the commitment to the screen is different than the commitment that is asked of audience members when you're in the room with it. There's not actual bodies in the room with you. And so, yeah, it feels like in some ways, it's a lighter ask. You can, watch it and then go get some cereal, like you were saying. And so you're also having to contend with that, I think, as someone that's, producing this festival, this event, knowing that people are going to be coming and going. And I think that's where some of the shorter things came in handy. If nothing else, just to kind of create a different kind of rhythm to what you're watching, and you weren't necessarily sure what the next thing was going to be like, and the notes that was going to hit. I did think that Jumatatu's thing really, for me, that was also a real learning experience, because it was so long, and it's not something that you would typically see on TV. It was like, and so I had this moment where, I don't know, it was maybe like 10, 15 minutes in, I was like, oh, I don't know if this can sustain for an hour, much less 2 or 3 hours. And then just something happened, and I just became fascinated by it, and I just kind of like entered the zone, and I could watch this all night. It just like ripped open the fabric of space-time, and like we entered another dimension. It was really wild. It's basically a workshop at the beginning. He's teaching people how to do it in their homes. And so you're not just staring at the screen, you're also participating. But we also, had recipes that people could download. We had cocktails that you could order and have delivered to your house. We had lyrics that you could download and sing along. You could create watch parties with your friends and participate. In our chat chat rooms on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, people were chatting while they were watching this thing. And so all of that was a way to create a moment that you could step into as an audience member. And I think that was one of the things that we were mostly interested in, was how do we still gather in this moment. It felt like so many people that I knew were really hungry to come together and gather, and like make plans for them. Hey, I got something on the calendar I can do this weekend.
One of the artists that I'd been working with for a couple of years into Fusebox was Rianto, the beautiful dancer choreographer from Indonesia. And in talking to Rianto about actually how to sort of translate the work medium into a sort of virtual context, we'd come up with this idea of a workshop where he's a dance teacher and he teaches Indonesian dance in Japan, where he lives. But his teaching practice also extends to cooking. And he and his producer Jala came forward to us and said, Rianto is also a master of Indonesian cooking, and he'd be very happy to lead an Indonesian cooking masterclass, which also is something that I think never would have been on the table had it not been for this platform of the virtual festival. And I think we're all just really curious and excited by that. Rianto Lengger is a cross-gender dance, and Rianto dressed up into sort of cross-gender Indonesian garb to lead the cooking class. As the curator, I was doing the kind of cooking alongside him. So he was in his kitchen in Tokyo, teaching me in my kitchen in Sydney. And Rianto just has such a joyful way about him, the way he sort of makes work, but also the way he conducts himself in the world. And it was this gorgeous insight into who he is as an artist and who he is as a human, and his joy in sharing his practice and in teaching and in transmitting knowledge to us, which is, something that he does as part of his practice anyway. And there was something so spontaneous and so joyful about that. And just sort of seeing him be in that moment, and us being able to have a sort of very spontaneous dialogue as an artist and a curator that, was about the task at hand, was about the cooking, but also riffed off into, the relationship between his cooking and his artwork, and his sort of everyday life as an artist, that I think was just really disarming and fantastic. And, because I was really actually quite slow and bad at making this dish, there'd be long segments where, he'd be waiting for me to catch up as I sliced turmeric or tried to grate the ginger or mix the paste. And so he'd he'd have nothing to do. So he'd start dancing and singing and these beautiful little spontaneous improvisations that happened within that class. So, I was really sweating it out trying to finish the cooking class, but it was really, I think, a beautiful moment for the audience to just connect with Rianto in this very genuine, very sort of spontaneous way. Yeah.
Yes, perfect. So for one bigger and for medium is 2.
2. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Probably one of these big ones.
Yes. And then after that, do you have lemongrass?
I couldn't find lemongrass at the supermarket, so I have some lemon zest. Will that work?
Oh, that is also perfect.
Okay, great.
That's also good.
Fantastic.